Welcome to your latest Nottingham Forest news. Coming up on today's episode, confliction over Callum Hudson-Odoi, with reports of UCL clubs interested. Newcastle again after Morgan Gibbs-White. And Cooper, could he find himself back in the Premier League? All this coming up on your latest Forest news. Let's get into it. Good morning, good evening, or good night. Hope you guys are doing well, and welcome to your latest Nottingham Forest news. As always, please don't forget to hit the like button. You guys smashed 800 last time. Can we push for 850? Check the number there. If it's not over 850, make sure you've hit that like button and hurry up and get your signed wood shirt with Insta prizes wins of Elanga, Reina, and of course Taiwo Awoniyi from Football Prizes. Links pinned in the comments down below. Okay, let's jump into the first story, and this is Callum Hudson-Odoi. Now, I would like to apologize, but I can't, because these are going to be the stories we're hearing for the next couple of weeks until June the 30th. You're going to hear nothing else on Forest apart from Callum Hudson-Odoi, MGW, and Murillo. We'll report it to you, we'll tell you the strength of it, if we're hearing anything, etc. But this one's all conflicted, because a couple of days ago, it was sent out by Ben Jacobs. Now, he said that Spurs are not looking to sign Callum Hudson-Odoi. Forest winger is drawing attention from some suitors, but it is not on Spurs' radar this summer. Now, that's been reversed completely in the last few hours, and Spurs have made a U-turn and are now interested in Callum Hudson-Odoi. In fact, they've been interested in him for a couple of years, but didn't want to take the risk in signing him with his injury record, etc. So they're looking at it as not a bad deal. The fees are being chucked around anywhere from 25 to 35, sometimes to 40, depending on where you're hearing it from. Add on to that, Sky have completely gone in the opposite direction. I think it was Rob Dorset who reported that Callum Hudson-Odoi is being sniffed at from one of the Champions League qualifiers, be that Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, or Aston Villa. Now, there's been no clarification on which team it is. I probably think, and the majority of the reporters are hinting, that it's Aston Villa who is somewhat interested in him as they look to bolster out their squad for their European campaign next season in the newly formatted Champions League. And I think, look, if Callum Hudson-Odoi is going to go, then we need more people at the table, outbidding each other, pushing up his price, etc. I don't think he's going to go, though. He's put out a tweet or a social media post, whatever it's called these days, thanking everyone for their support this season and saying, looking forward, we go again next season. I mean, he can't do that and then not turn up, can he? So it's all conflicting right now on Callum Hudson-Odoi. Now, in terms of what we're hearing about him, honestly, there's been not much from our sources, which makes me think that potentially this is agent talk trying to push him out in the public eye, or the club's public eyes, you know what I'm saying, and trying to ramp up some interest in him. Would Forest sell him? If it meant keeping Morgan Gibbs-White, then I think it could be a possibility. However, we are hearing stronger and stronger reports about the difficulty Forest are about to find themselves in PSR. We're putting that all together, it's coming together, it comes in together a lot, but we're putting it into a video for you in the next few days, hopefully. So watch this space, as it's not as clear cut as people have made out, including myself. It's actually a lot worse. So watch that space on this. But let me know in the comments down below. Callum Hudson-Odoi, should he stay or should he go? Okay, let's move on to shock horror Morgan Gibbs-White. And Newcastle are now starting to show a little flirtation towards Morgan Gibbs-White. In fact, they've been showing cleavage to him since the January transfer window. We go back that far, there was a lot of stories and rumours that Newcastle were getting close to putting a bid together. Why? Because at that time, there were stories coming out that they were going to sell Bruno Guimaraes, He ended up staying. Those stories are re-emerging again this summer. And now with Newcastle being shoved out of European football because Man U scumbagged a win against Man City yesterday in the FA Cup, it looks like they're probably going to have to sell the likes of Bruno and potentially replace him with Morgan Gibbs-White. Now we know Eddie Howe is a huge fan of Morgan Gibbs-White, as are many other managers in the league. And it seems that there will be yet another bidding war on Morgan Gibbs-White, because the other team who is still interested in him, old U-turn Usher style Spurs. So there is talks that Spurs may have to put in a double bid for Callum Hudson-Odoi and Morgan Gibbs-White. God only knows what that would be. But Newcastle will be sniffing around, and just keep an eye on what happens with Bruno Guimaraes, because that could be a trigger to this. Now, all the reports are saying, be it on Morgan Gibbs-White, be it on Murillo, because there's more Liverpool links to him, we'll save that for another video, or be it on Callum Hudson-Odoi, all these teams are clear and are fully aware, obviously, of Forest's 30th of June deadline. But I don't know why we're the club being, like, having the spotlight put on us on it, because we know Newcastle are in similar situations, even though they're probably the richest club in the world. We know Aston Villa have got the exact same problems. We know there's about 2, 3, maybe 5 even others in the Premier League that will have to wheel and deal before the 30th of June. Yet, because Forest have bought so many players, as we keep hearing, the media wants the spotlight on Forest. And I don't like that. I don't like that. But I think Marinakis won't be bent over on this, man. I think he will hold out for the right money. Be it on Morgan Gibbs-White, be it on Callum, be it on any of our prized assets. But I'm starting to feel like Newcastle are about to become a serious player when it comes to it. But I still would put Spurs as favourites because they have European football and they are part of the Cartel 6. Even though they won nothing since 2008. Don't know how they've dwindled that one. But as we spoke about in previous videos, Morgan Gibbs-White, if he is serious about his England career, he knows most likely he's got to get himself into the Cartel 6. So keep an eye out on Newcastle to potentially trigger a bid. Now, the benefit of this is that if Newcastle wants to go in for him without offering him European football, which would be his next kind of natural progression in his career, they're going to have to offer him high wages, or they're going to have to offer Forest some higher fee to try and get themselves in the front running. This is all speculation right now, but this is how transfers work. We'll keep you posted as this one develops. But what do you think? Could you see him at Newcastle? Let us know down below. And finally, for all the Cooperites out there, we thought we'd bring you the Steve Cooper story, because obviously we still love him for what he did and how he got us promoted into the Premier League. Now, Steve Cooper has been out of work since the 19th of December when he parted ways with, of course, Nottingham Forest. And ever since then, he's been linked to a couple of clubs, mainly Crystal Palace, but who ended up going with Glasner. But now with these stories and rumours about Thomas Frank leaving Brentford potentially for Chelsea, Steve Cooper is being named as a potential replacement for him at Brentford. And I'll tell you what, look, I was not Steve Cooper's biggest fan in the Premier League. Obviously, I was a huge fan of him in the Championship, but I don't want him at Brentford, man. I really don't, because I don't like Brentford. And look, I don't know if Cooper can still manage in the Premier League. With all due respect to him, I still think he would struggle. Maybe he could go in as a double agent and relegate Brentford. That would be quite good. But I'm still not convinced about this one. I'll be honest with you. Why? Because it looks like De Zerbi's going to end up at Chelsea. Therefore, they won't be going for Thomas Frank. There's a couple of other clubs sniffing for Thomas Frank. I think, honestly, Cooper's going to have to dip back into the Championship. He is very loosely being linked with the Burnley job now that Vincenzo Kompany has gone across to Bayern Munich. And I think that one might be the one that Steve Cooper ends up going with. But I'll be very surprised if we get to the end of the transfer window and Steve Cooper hasn't found himself a new home. Where do you guys think he ends up? And do you think he's good enough to still manage in the Premier League? Let me know in the comments down below. Right, we've got a gore coming up at 8 p.m. with special guest Carl. It's going to be a post-mortem on the season so far, and no doubt a lot of arguments, as they always do with that panel. So we will see you there at 8 p.m. Make sure you do tune in. And if you haven't already, please don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV. Go get your Chris Wood tickets. And we'll see you then. Come on, you Reds.